So we're doing the next video for the Hampstead child abuse inquiry through Companies House and a bit of other research around it as well. And we were looking at Grange International Limited. Do go and verify and corroborate this information, see that it is true. So we've come from the judge who was the judge against those, or not against, but judging those who were being accused of harassment, I believe, and torture, and those individuals were trying to highlight the abuse or the apparent abuse to these children in this inquiry. So we've come from the research of Anna Pawley, and that is leading us through as we go now to this. And we're back into that Grange company, and this person, Paul Grange, links to Sunseeker. Now, I already mentioned Sunseeker in the last video, and you'll recall from, I believe it's the World Trade Center disaster document or the BCP Council document, that Sunseeker featured, and it had an illegal entity company. It's a huge company based in Poole, that's a yacht company, and here we are, we have an address in Bournemouth in Dorset in relation to that company. Going back now to Grange, back into the person records, this person has an address in Poole. You can see at the top there, according to this, if it's a real address, a correspondence address rather, and they have a company called Well Hung Sales Limited. I just thought I'd put that in there. Again, based in Dorset, and also connected to F&M Sales Holdings UK, an address in Poole again, and on their incorporation, on their overview page for that company, you can see at the bottom here it's got an address in Southampton, and you notice Science Park. And if you've looked at all of my documents and evidence, you'll see that Science Park is actually used in a lot of their addresses. So different rest of the address, but they put Science Park in there. And you'll find that there's various things they put in. Okay, you might have Temple House, you might have Riverside is a big one. There's various others, and they just appear to pick sections from the different addresses they use and put them into other addresses and mix up all of the addresses. And I suggest that's part of the lack of the deliberate attempt to remove accountability and liability. And you can see the previous company names again linked to Sunseeker. But look, the first name at the bottom here, looking at the bottom of the screen, from February till March 2005, it was called Shoe 123 Limited. So that would have been a shell company creation, where they've just changed the numbers after Shoe. And then the second one, you can see it was called Sunseeker Sales Group UK Limited from the 10th of March until June 2005. And again, this is not illegal. That's not illegal. There should be something that says that that can't happen so easily. And of course, the verification would prevent this from happening, because as soon as you change your name in a company, you remove that accountability and liability. You can't prosecute a company that is no longer trading under that name. Okay, it removes that accountability and liability. So if they have been involved in tax avoidance or money laundering or anything more sinister, then they remove that accountability and liability. And of course, the government are aware of that, and they're not doing enough to tighten it up. Now, when we research Pawley on Google, it links to this record on LinkedIn. Okay, Paul Pawley, and look at the company, Siemens Mobility Limited. Now, hopefully you'll be aware from my other research and evidence that Siemens links in significantly to the 5G concerns, that they have been integrated with directed energy weapons. Siemens was an old company that research suggests was founded in 1847, 3 years after Companies House was started, and the research suggests that they supplied materials to the Nazi concentration camps, and also had set aside an annual budget of around $50 million in bribery. So here we are, another connection to Siemens, and you can see it says at the bottom, rail infrastructure. Okay, Siemens Mobility Limited, rail infrastructure, and this is really important because the research for Siemens also links in and shows that the rail network was used across Russia. We've already got, or to get to Russia, I can't remember exactly, you'll have to look at my other documents, the Directed Energy Systems Concerns documents, I believe it is, and the videos. But we've already got loads of Russian connections, okay, through this fraud. Look at the other evidence from Rishi Sunak that I've presented. You'll see that my company links to Russian intelligence agencies, links to a Russia-UK company that again links to the directed energy weapons companies, namely Thales, Thales, also the royal family, and also the pooled pension funds around that as well. So again, another connection to Siemens already. And on the same LinkedIn page, Lockheed Martin has been posted on there, liked by that person. Lockheed Martin features throughout the fraud. As you know, they've got illegal entity companies, and they're important because the research links back to the chief of police for the area, Martin Baker, for that area. And of course, Lockheed Martin is a huge weapons involved company that lots of government contracts go through using tax contributions in relation to the defence, supposed theatre and show of defence. And again, I do urge you to go and look at this Silent Weapons of Quiet Wars document. It appears to show their whole plan. So looking at that company, Siemens Mobility Limited, you can see it's got an address. Look at the address, Hampstead Road, London. Okay, so now we've got a connection, it appears, to Hampstead. And Siemens Mobility, it was an old company. Look at that, started in 1881. Okay, less than 40 years after Companies House. And here we go, the previous company names. You can see here, it should be Westinghouse Brake and Signal Company Limited. Now let's just get this into perspective again. Okay, so Companies House, just so we understand, everyone's on the same level here, because this is true. Companies House input the information on the register. Okay, so they've input these names at the bottom as the previous company names. They have put that from the 7th of November 1981 to the 9th of November 1988, it had this company name only. Okay, they haven't put any other names between those dates, that company name only. Okay, but it's interesting because this one also shows that they changed their name, but it's the same, as far as I'm aware, Westinghouse, let me just read that again. Yeah, oh no, they've changed it. So they've just changed it from company to holdings, okay? So they just changed the one name, and then you can see they then changed it again to Siemens Rail Automation there. But just let's get this in perspective, okay? So this is the information input on the register by Companies House. They've manually put, okay, the dates. No other name other than this name between those dates. Let's look at the incorporation document. So 7th of November 1881. 7th of November 1881. The incorporation document. You find this on the Companies House register, on the filing history. And you've got the Westinghouse Brake Company Limited. The Westinghouse Brake Company Limited. Well, it's different. Look at the bottom. Westinghouse Brake and Signal Company Limited. That's fraud. That's fraud. We know it's fraud because they've stated that date, that between those dates had that company name. We know that's not true because attached to the register is this incorporation document with the same date, okay, but with a different name. Okay, you can see it clearly at the top. It's fraud. This is the key to everything, guys. Now we're going to look at Judge Cahill. Remember, we mentioned in the first video that I've got, this judge was also involved in prosecuting or judging one of the court cases against one of those who was trying to defend the children and protesting against what was happening to these children. And don't forget, it wasn't just those two children. According to those children, there were around 20 other children in that school were being victimised. Of course, I'm only going by the reports. I'm not saying that was the case. But here you can see we have Judge Sally Elizabeth Mary Cahill. And she was, Judge Cahill was called to the bar, Gray's Inn, features in the addresses a lot, in 1978, and took Silk, remember Silk 1 Silk Road, features a lot, in 2003. She was appointed an assistant recorder in 1997, a recorder in 2000, and a circuit judge and deputy high court judge in 2004. She was a director of criminal training at the Judicial College from 2010 to 2016, and president of the Council of Her Majesty Circuit from 2020 to 2021. Let's look at what appears to be her Companies House record. Mrs. Cahill, or Miss Cahill, please contact me if this isn't you and you're a victim of this. Please get in touch. Let us know. Let us know what's going on. So we've got Richmond House School listed as a company name. Let's go and look into that company, Richmond House School. And we can see it was incorporated in 1976, quite an old company. And we've got changes in names at the bottom there. Richard House and Farr, Headingley School Association, and then change Richmond House Association. And then the latest name is Richmond House School, that was changed in 2006 to that name. And on the incorporation document, we've got Jordan and Sons, but they have crossed Jordan and Sons out. Okay, so someone has altered this document. Could be after the fraud was being reported. They're trying to cover their tracks. But you've also got the London Law Agency, and a legal entity company again. Okay, so already we've got a connection. Back into the company, we've now got a doctor. And they link to Pudsey Care LLP. You'll know from my previous research, if you go and look at the video that I've done in relation to the NSPCC, that children in need also have been infiltrated and compromised by this system of international trafficking. Even on the Children in Need Incorporation document, you have, I believe it's Sundar Mansakani, if my memory serves me correctly. That same name features throughout the research on Max Clifford, Jeffrey Epstein, I believe, can't remember without looking again, but also the health authorities that we've already talked about, and the NHS. That same name links very closely to the NHS as well. And here we are, we have Pudsey. Most of you will hopefully know that Pudsey is the character that is used in Children in Need. On the incorporation document, it appears to be forged. There's an indication of that because you've got this missing section here. Okay, that shouldn't be missing, should it? If they've just written it on here, where you can see, then there should be no missing line there, but there is. That suggests that has been entered afterwards, and you can see that York Place Company Services, that we've already mentioned, has been linked to that company. Going back into the Richmond company now, we can see we've got this person. And I haven't mentioned it a lot. I should have gone into it a bit more. We've got a company called Schofield Sweeney LLP. Okay, I know that the address there features throughout, but that has featured throughout. But I thought I'd mention that in case others are doing their own research, because there's lots of people doing their own research in relation to this right around the world. It's not going to go away. Back into Richmond, we've now got this person, Grange, Martin Robert Grange. Can't recall, is that the same Grange that was in the other Grange company? No, I've just checked. It's not the same name. Just had a quick look. But here we go. Let's see where this person leads. Can't remember. Okay, so we've got a link now to Clarion Advisory. Remember, we've already mentioned Clarion. It's come up in one of the other videos as well. I've been contacted. I think I mentioned it here. Yeah, so here's an email. Obviously, I've not shown the person's name. But we have somebody's emailed me concerned that they may be involved in fraud by defrauding the tenants there to do with real estate. So we've got a connection here. And again, Elizabeth House. Okay, so this is another example of where they've taken part of an address. There's an Elizabeth House in Fordingbridge that features significantly throughout the fraud and links closely to my company, actually. And I suspect they've taken that from there. Queen Street, again, is an address that they put in quite often. It'd be lovely to go around to all of these addresses and see if there's anyone. Obviously, it's a huge task in itself, that doing that, but I doubt very much there will be in many of them. So back into the company, different person. We're in the people record now of the Richmond company again, and we've got Yorkshire Cancer Research. We know that many of the charities have been infiltrated by this system of fraud. Many are illegal entities and linked to the fraud, and again, this goes back to the Freemasonic network. They've been appearingly to try and appear to be a charitable donation organisation. Many of them would probably been drawn in under that guise, thinking that it was all a good thing. But it appears as though it's all a front to the money laundering. Yorkshire Cancer Research Campaign at the bottom there. And we've got the London Law Agency again on there. And you can see it's been overwritten. Okay, so they've stamped over, even though this is a legal document that's been signed, according to this, look at the signatures. If they're real signatures, they have come over and stamped over other details underneath, and that is an illegal entity company anyway. And here we've got another, so we're now going into the Yorkshire company, and we've got this person, and they link to Police Mutual Financial Services Limited. Okay, so we know that there's a Freemasonic connection. I've already mentioned it, and here we go. We've got a police affiliated company. Again, Police Mutual Financial Services. Again, notice the Queen Street. So it's a different house. Okay, different house. Queen Street again mentioned. Okay, this is what they do. And you can see at the bottom in the Hocko, so this is a shell company creation. And again, they would have just changed the number after in Hocko. And this was incorporated in 2003. Look at the incorporation document. And, oh, here we go. That's the reason I put it. So the reason I've put the incorporation document is you have Eversheds solicitors. And you'll know from my other research, Eversheds features throughout the fraud, and they're linked to several police associated companies. Back into the Police Mutual company, we're now looking at the people records, and you can see we've got this person, and they link to Benefits to You Limited. Now this is important because this will tie in with one of my videos coming soon, the links to the census, which is the company that creates the world population figures for the UK, and they are almost immediately linked to benefits companies. And this is important because if they can manipulate the population figures and how the benefit system ties into that and the system of fraud, that is a great way to manipulate information and to defraud the general public. And if you can manipulate the figures of the population, you can use that to so many advantages. For example, you could say there's too many people in the world and we need to bring in some measures to prevent global warming, for example. Looking into that Benefits to You, you can see that it was incorporated in May 2001, not long before the World Trade Center disaster. And then they changed their name again. So from May to June 2001. Though Larry Silverstein purchased the lease for the World Trade Center building in July, a month later, 2001. And you can see they're changing name again at the bottom. And on the incorporation document, let's just make sure that's, long 186. Okay, so that's correct. So this is page. You can see, you can follow this along because you can see the page numbers on the incorporation documents at the bottom right hand corner, most of them. So you can sort of look and verify and corroborate all of this. Oh yeah, the reason I did this is it just shows you some other shell companies that were created off of this one. So you've got the various ones, which shows there's an affiliation, a financial interest. Money can be moved between accounts, whether that be legitimately or not. And of course, remember, I keep saying this, but it's true. Companies House own guidelines suggest there should be no two companies with similar names. Well, they're very similar, aren't they? If you're just changing one digit, it's easy to get them mixed up. And here's a load more, again, on the same incorporation document. Going back into that person, Liverpool Victoria Life Company, based in Poole, in Dorset. They were appointed in February 2001, you can see. And this company, County Gates in Bournemouth, Liverpool Victoria Life Company Limited. And this is one example of the insurance side of things. So this was, I believe, is an insurance company. And you can see at the bottom there, it says, was called Permanent Insurance Company Limited. It changed its name in June 2001 and hasn't again since. And on the incorporation document, it's completely different. Okay, so you've got, again, from 1958 to June 2001, it should be called Permanent Insurance Company Limited, according to Companies House. Permanent Insurance Limited from 1958. I'm trying to find the date. There we go, 1958. It's a different company name. It's an illegal entity company, the Permanent Sickness Insurance Company. Permanent Insurance Company. Okay, so you can see they've changed it. Permanent sickness insurance company. Fraud. Going into that company, we've got this person, the CEO. And he's part of the Sovereign Unit the Sovereign Unit Trust Managers Limited. And we've already mentioned Sovereign. They were appointed in November 2022. Okay, it's a dissolved company now. I started reporting the fraud in September, I believe, 2022. He's also linked to Friends Provident Reinsurance Services Limited and Medical Services International Limited. Remember, one of the members of my company was a chief executive officer for the NHS in charge of a £700 million budget and 10,000 staff. And remember, I acquired the forged bank documents through my company, and their associated friend, through their husband, was the accountant using those documents for our company, I suspect, to falsify our company figures. So we're now looking into that company. And you can see Fromead Limited, at the bottom. From February 1979, let me just see, when did they dissolve? Incorporated in 1979. I haven't got the status. Oh, it's an active company. This is interesting. This is another example of how a very small change in the name. So you can see you've got Fromead Limited here from the 26th of February 1979 till December 1979. It's not very long at all. In fact, this is fraud, isn't it? Because, well, they're saying that it was that company name and then it changed after that date, but we've still got the same company name. Look, you've still got Fromead Limited in the top. Okay, so why was there a change of name? And you can see that the same name that features throughout the fraud again, Michael John Hope, is on there. And there's another city road address, but remember, there's loads of different numbers they use to avoid accountability and liability. And on that document, you've got Express Company Registrations Limited. That, again, features throughout the fraud. And here you go, it's just confirming that when I search Express on my previous documents, so Express Company Registrations Limited is linked to Jeffrey Epstein Research, and Jordan's, again, a legal entity company, and Templeton. That same person, going back to the person now, is linked to Bupa Care Homes, ANS Limited. Bupa Care Homes, just showing the same. This is now looking into that company, Bupa Care Homes, ANS Limited. An active company from 1985. See the company name changes at the bottom. Morelet Public Limited. Yep, so that's right. And you've got Jordan's on the incorporation document again. And again, the addresses feature throughout different Chatsworth houses. And Mavis June Latter is a name that is linked to Swift Incorporations Limited as well. The same company that was on my company's incorporation documents. And this address, Brunswick Place, is also used throughout, but with different numbers at that address, okay? So you can see it's all quite obvious. It's blatantly in our face. And we can see the same name, Michael Richard Council, who you have seen already within the documents in relation to the Hampstead inquiry, child abuse inquiry. And that name also is linked to Swift Incorporations Limited, and that name has never actually been registered with Swift Incorporations. Remember, this is fraud by our very own government via the Companies House registration system. Now, back into this same personal record, we've now got Bupa Foundation. Moving forward. Now, of course, if the medical professions are part of the system of fraud and they're part of the depopulation, then of course you can utilize the health system to depopulate the people as well, depopulate the planet. So it should have an incorporation document of Bupa UK Foundation, the bottom there, Bupa UK Foundation, from April 2015 to August 2020. Which is correct, that's good. But it's an illegal entity company because you have not just this is an illegal entity company statement of compliance. Well, that means they've used a false entity company, which shouldn't have even been trading, as their statement of compliance to confirm that compliance is taking place. Well, that's not possible because they're not even a lawful company. They're illegal, and they would have known that, of course. So again, this is another fraudulent company. Back into the Liverpool side of things. Liverpool company at the top there, you can see we've got Paul Bernard Cassidy. Again, the address is County Gates. Highway Insurance Group Limited. Highway Insurance Group Limited. If we go through and look at them, you can see the various name changes. Started in 1994 at the bottom there, and they changed their name for the first time in September 2002. And you can see the very slight name changes. So Highway Insurance Holdings PLC. Then they changed the name Holdings to Group, and then they changed it to Highway Insurance Group Limited. So all they did was change it from PLC to Limited, which again, that is not lawful. It needs to be tightened up. They're clearly allowing this for a reason. Don't forget the illegalities, the forgery of the register against the incorporation documents, the forged documents attached, and also the forged documents being produced by the bank for these, for some company, I'm not saying these ones, but for companies to falsify their company figures. And on the incorporation document, you've got a name that I've noticed before, Lucian James Limited. And just confirming, Lucian James, when I search it, it links to, again, Max Clifford and Finchley Road, again. And that's via Lucian James Limited Company. Now, I've been provided information that this is one of the officers that was involved from the Child Protection Unit based in, I think it was Camden or Barnet Camden. Again, if this isn't really you and you're not really that officer, please get in touch with me. Let me know if you've been victimised by this fraud as well. My email address is available. But it looks as though this is possibly that police officer, the name that I've been given. And here it suggests it's a police officer because you have a company linked to them called the PC First Call Limited. Of course, police constable. Presuming that's police constable. I don't know for sure, but I'm sure that officer will get in contact to help clarify this if not. PC First Call Limited, let's have a look into that company. And you can see that Temple Secretary. So in PC First, you can see on the people record, here we are. We've just mentioned Finchley Road, and here it is. 788 to 790 Finchley Road. If you go and search the Ham and High article Finchley Road fraud, you will see that address is notoriously linked through that article, according to the research, to international government fraud, mafia, the dictators, corrupt politicians, and defrauding the general public through the taxation system. Go and have a look at it if you don't believe me. Go and search that. Again, I didn't write that article, but of course all of this suggests very concerning information to us all, doesn't it? So moving on, we remember right back at, I think it was in part 1 of the video for this, we mentioned that Tortoise Media was used to create a documentary style TV show, I believe, in relation to what had happened with the Hampstead child abuse inquiry, and they put it down, I believe, as a hoax in the end, I believe. So let's look at that company now, okay? So Tortoise Media Limited. There's various companies you can see pop up when I search Tortoise Media. Let's look at this one, Tortoise Media Limited. And you can see at the bottom, Tortoise Media Limited. They changed their names. Why did for some reason I've put this. I'm just trying to figure out why I mentioned this name. I think I was just showing that I'm looking at it. Oh, they changed their name. This is interesting. So they were incorporated in 2017, so after the child abuse inquiry. And they changed their name again in 19th of April 2018. And this person links through to Grosvenor Group Limited. I mean, I'm only showing you some of the connections, don't forget. And this is a shell company creation. You can tell because it's got number 2. So every now and then they'll create the shell companies like this and actually write number 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever. And you can see that name, but that is not illegal in itself. There should be something to suggest that shouldn't carry on. But on the incorporation document, the trustees of the 5th Duke of Westminster's 1965 settlement, Mr. Preston. Okay, so I thought I would show that. It's very interesting. I remember there's numerous connections through to the royal family in the other videos and the other connections I've got. Back into the company, this person record. In fact, we'll stop it there and do the next part.